Eric Trump dealing with the brunt of it. It's unbelievable. But guess what? You know, he and his family, I want to say last laugh, but that's not actually the appropriate way to characterize this, because Eric, he went through a lot, right? A whole darn lot. And he lived to tell about it, as did his dad. I spoke with him moments ago.
I watched the fake news, and he's weaponized. And he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mug shot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mug shot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world.
You better believe it. But you know what? He came back. He came back and he won, and it's unbelievable. Well, there's a brand new book out by none other than his son, Eric Trump, called Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save the Nation. It just hit #1 on the charts, my goodness, and I'm thrilled to bring Eric into the conversation right now. Eric, congratulations. Wow. You know, not just on the book and #1, like that goes without saying, but you know, congratulations on all that you and your family have been able to accomplish, because I gotta tell you, you've been through HLL and back. You know it better than anyone. It's what you get into in the book. Is this surreal in some ways?
Listen, me being a #1, best-selling author, it was not in the cards, Trish. That much I can tell you, and it probably wasn't in the cards for us to win the first election against Hillary Clinton when we didn't know what a delegate was and we didn't know what a caucus was. And when we were sitting in wooden pews in freezing cold courtrooms in 2024, as they were trying to imprison us for doing nothing wrong, it probably wasn't in the cards that we came back and had one of the biggest wins in modern political history. And that's what the siege was about. They tried to destroy us. They tried to destroy this country. They just tried to destroy, you, Trish. They tried to destroy all your viewers. They went after all of us. They went after America. They went after the Constitution. They went after religion. They went after family. They went after all of us. I mean, so many people watching right now probably had people jump over them because of DEI and all sorts of other nonsense, right? They attacked all of us, and they went through our family to do it. They indicted us. They indicted my father 91 times. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for doing nothing wrong. They spied on his campaign. They leaked our tax returns, my tax returns, my father's tax returns, all our corporate employees' tax returns. They leaked them all to the New York Times. They made up the Russia hoax. They made up the dirty dossier. Every AG, every DA in the country, whether it be Letitia James or obviously Jack Smith as special counsel, and Alvin Bragg and Fani Willis, and I mean, I could go on and on. They came after us like we were dogs. They got rid of our voice. They silenced us on social media. They gag ordered us. 91 indictments. They took him off the ballot in Maine. They took him off the ballot in Colorado. I mean, I could go on and on. I could go on and on for hours.
I know. I still have PTSD. I mean, the whole thing was so unbelievably traumatic. And, and yet, look, I mean, it's a testimony to not just you and your family and your dad, but of course to America as well, right? Because America came back really, really strong, elected your father, and now it's all coming out, right? It's all getting exposed. I have a question for you. Like, when this was all going on, was there any part of you, Eric, that was like, oh my gosh, Dad, what'd you get us into? Was there any part of you that was like, okay, we need to scale back because like this is going to be generationally bad?
Oh, there's definitely a couple times where I go, what the hell did we get ourselves into? But it was more of a we versus a you, right? No, I said that. Listen, I came out of the courthouse with him, and I never left his side. I was with his. I talk a lot about it in Under Siege. I was by his side every single day, and he turned around. I was the first person. He shook his hand. 34 felony convictions. They've all been overturned. They want to throw him in jail. And we got into the car. We got into the armored vehicles. We're going up the FDR Drive in New York, and I looked at him and I said, he goes, honey, I don't know how, but we're going to win this thing. We're going to win it all. That's how confident he was. And I said, we either win this thing. It's either the White House or you and I are both in jail for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Like, that was the width of the pendulum. I mean, it was either 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or they would have locked him up and me, and they would have thrown away the keys. They would have destroyed our family. They would have destroyed our company. That's what they were trying to do every single day. And listen, he beat the mainstream media. He beat a corrupt DOJ. He beat a corrupt FBI. He beat an apparatus that was spying on his campaign. They used every corner of the government to try and take him down. This is what you would expect to see in a third world country. Yes. But when I got the call saying, I hear there are secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin, I started laughing. I go, well, first of all, we don't have servers in the basement of Trump Tower. Second of all, we're like largely a cloud-based computing company. We don't really have servers in general. And we don't know a damn person. I mean, we were trying to figure out what an Iowa caucus is, let alone trying to figure out how to communicate with the Kremlin. Give me a break. That's how little about politics we knew. Yeah. And honestly, it was the most unlikely journey. But the book is actually a really kind of inspirational one, right? It's not just the siege. It's how you could overcome the greatest darkness. You could have that David and Goliath story, and you better believe that the government was Goliath and we were David, right?
Sure.
And you could overcome, and you could persevere, and we could win. And then I see my father 3 days ago in the Middle East peace. You see taxes coming down in this country. You see the big, beautiful bill. You see inflation coming down, to normal levels. You see the lowest gas prices we've seen in years. You see people who are proud to stand up for the national anthem. You see churches filled on weekends. You see America respected again on the world stage. And every aspect of this fight, which was so brutal and so vicious and so vindictive and the worst of what you could possibly imagine any government could be, it all became worth it. And it's all worth it. And honestly,
I think that's why it's so successful, because it resonates with everyone. Everybody was touched by this in some way. Cancel culture on steroids. And there's a sense of victory. There's a sense of relief. But I think people are also very aware of how fragile the system is. Right? Because who's to say that it couldn't all go back to that tomorrow? And I think this is so much of what your dad is crusading for, at least the FBI is, right? With everything that's been revealed thus far, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino doing a good job there, because we need to make sure that, you don't have more Letitia Jameses out there in the world. That one really got me, as a business reporter. I was like, man, that was a crazy case.
With $600 million for never missing a mortgage payment and having your banks, including Deutsche Bank, testify that you were the greatest borrower that they've ever had. I mean, that was the weaponization of the system. Trish, apparently Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million, right? I mean,
I'll buy it for that.
Yeah, I said, what tennis court, right? It's kind of, it's really an amazing thing. But no, we beat the system, and now, honestly, mainstream media doesn't have a voice in this country anymore. They really don't. It's independent journalists like you that are doing unbelievably well, right? NBC, ABC, they become a joke, right? No one trusts them. No one believes them. My father won the popular vote despite having 98% negative media coverage. He won every swing state. Every single state in the nation went to the right. We won Miami-Dade by 11 points, a county, right? That's Miami, obviously, that hasn't been won in 37 years. America was tired of it. They wanted our country back. They wanted to have a fighter back, and they wanted respect for our national anthem and our American flag and our Constitution and our family unit and religion. And so we won this together. We won the siege together. You, who's always been a great supporter, your viewers, we won this fight together. And again, it's baffling to me. I built skyscrapers, right? I never thought I would.
I'm suddenly a #1 best-selling author.
Every ounce of my heart and soul into writing every word of a book, and it's amazing how it's caught on and gone crazy.
It's an incredible story, an incredible triumphant story. So you build skyscrapers, I get it, but you got away with people too, and I'm kind of curious. You got any ideas about the future? I mean, you got the name. You got the experience, at least out there on the campaign trail. You know what you're up against. And the MAGA movement is going to live on in a big way. You are part of that. Sure. I mean, at some point when your dad's not there in the Oval Office, what are you thinking?
Listen, we sure as hell have figured out the system. I'll give you that, right? We have definitely figured out the system for sure, right? And we've certainly developed a voice. I mean, if we didn't have our voice, we would have been dead. We would have been imprisoned. We would have been bankrupt. We would have been locked away and gone, right? So you better have had a voice. Those are the only two things that saved us, right? And maybe a little bit of a pocketbook, honestly. As unconventional as it was, the fact that my father had enough zeros on his balance sheet that he could fend off the attacks using his own money, because they would have just destroyed anybody else. They would have run through any other candidate who would not have been able to afford the actual fight at hand. And so,
well, not just financially, right, but emotionally, because your dad's a special person that's just willing to get up and fight again. No. And clearly all of you around him are willing to engage that. I mean, this was a family battle.
I often say it's like a little like masochistic, right? Where you kind of like enjoy the feeling of pain or something along those lines, right? It's like, if it wasn't Trish, there's no damn way you would have done this. And yet we never gave up. In the darkest moments, we never went. I mean, we kept punching. I remember leaving those courtrooms with him and literally going to fundraisers, meaning he gets indicted at 34 felonies, again, all overturned. And we drive from 34 felonies into a fundraising, to try and raise some money. I mean, we never stopped. We never turned it off.
What was it like? I mean, you were right there with him by his side. Your stepmother, Melania Trump, I think I read something about you saying they were actually trying to drive a wedge between Melania and your dad. Like it just went. And then I think about poor Barron, right? Your younger brother, who's like a kid during all of this, and I can't even imagine growing up. I mean, it's bad enough being Trish Regan's kid. I can't imagine what it was like to be Barron, who doesn't have the age and wisdom of someone like you. He's still a kid.
Could you imagine if you picked up and you saw a husband or whatever, and they're talking about I can't even golden I'm worried about saying the second word and prostitution and making up all these stories. Now, this was all paid for by the Democratic Party. There was zero truth to it. In any fair world, these people would all be sued for slander, and frankly, they'd probably be imprisoned for slander. That's the extent of the fallacy that they created. But this was our government at work. They were paying for this crap, and they were orchestrating it all over the place. So if anybody doesn't think that the intent of that is obviously to defame, to embarrass, right? To act as the October surprise, something that is popped on you so late that you can't actually disprove it and you lose votes because of it. But you don't think those stories were directly intended to try and separate a family unit? They did everything they could to try and separate all of us and break us and divide us. You know how many times prosecutors came to me and said, hey, if you say anything about your father that's negative, we will let you go. No problem. You don't need to take this deposition. It was extortion at the absolute highest level. I talk all about it in the book. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to break us, and we never broke as a family.
Well, it's good for you guys and good for the country. So there are a lot of people in the media that say, oh, this is retribution. He's going to go after everybody because he's angry. But at the same time, I'm looking at it, and I remember talking to your dad when he was first time in office, and I said, hey, why didn't you go after Hillary Clinton, Mr. President? He said, Trish, you know what? She was the wife of a former president. And, she was the woman I was running against. Like, it wouldn't have been appropriate. It would have been Banana Republic-esque. I think he was so focused on making the economy better and doing the right thing by the nation, he wasn't interested in any kind of retribution. But the problem with that was they were, right? And they kept it going and going and going and going and going. And so it's sort of like, Eric, if you don't do something, right? If you roll over and play dead, then actually you're creating a disservice for the entire country and for every party in the future.
Jack Smith planted classified folders on the office floor of Mar-a-Lago. They raided his home and they said it was on behalf of NARA, National Archives. It wasn't on behalf of NARA. Joe Biden orchestrated the raid with Merrick Garland and everyone else. There has to be accountability, right? Hillary Clinton back in the day deleted 33,000 emails and then joked about, oh, haha, it's just bleach bit. You just bleach it. What do? You wipe it off. So funny. They wrote the dirty dossiers. They made up the Russia smears. Think about that. They pitted the two largest nuclear superpowers against each other for a period of 3 years so that some power-hungry older lady could get 3 more votes. I mean, that's what they did. They made it impossible for us to speak to Russia. Right? The biggest nuclear superpower. God forbid there was ever a conflict or a mistake or something, because they wanted to make up a narrative that would get them a couple extra votes. And when they lost, allow them to save a little face for the fact that they got beaten by a bunch of people who knew nothing about, like we were all like hoodlum. We didn't know anything about politics. The hell did we know about
that was the thing. You were the outsiders, right? How dare you as an outsider come in? They had a system that worked for the system, and all of a sudden it was getting shaken up by somebody who didn't know anything about the system. And it really was power to the people and the people having a voice. And I think that just it clearly didn't go over well. I'm astonished, and like we're learning new things every day. The 30 million phone records that they were, I can't say tapping. I can't say wiretapping. They were tolling. Forgive me, the New York Times and PBS are all over us for saying tapping. They didn't wiretap, but they were tolling. They were gathering the metadata. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, you think about the debanking that went on, all of it, Eric. And you were on the front lines of it.
I was the most debanked person in the history of this nation. Capital One called me in the middle of the night, 300 bank accounts gone, Bank of America gone, JP Morgan Chase gone. I mean, how do you run and these are for condo associations, these are for hotels, these are for, golf courses in upstate New York. I mean, every account stripped out from under us, right? And it was all orchestrated, it was all coordinated. That was the siege. Just kill them in any ways possible. Bankrupt them if they can, silence them, gag order them, debank them, deplatform them, go after their wives, raid their homes, go after their family, try and extort their employees, weaponize the media against them. And by the way, everybody in this country felt it, right? We were the tip of the spear. There's no question we were the tip of the spear. But conservatives all across this nation. So this book is for them. And the reason is, number one, is people are pissed off. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off about Butler, right? They almost took my father's head off, and we've seen one picture of the guy, and the kid looks like he was 14 years old at the time. We know more about a Venezuelan gang member that just got deported from this country than we do about a guy who tried to blow my father's head off. His body was cremated about 4 days later. Most household pets take longer than 4 days to cremate, and this guy is. Why haven't we gotten answers? Why haven't we gotten any accountability? I'm pissed off, and this country is pissed off.
No, there's a lot of questions. We need accountability.
We don't want revenge. We want accountability, and we want real accountability.
Because it can't happen again. It just can't. Because who the heck is ever going to run for office?
Well, AOC maybe. I mean,
don't say that. No, don't say that.
Incompetent, and that will be the end of our nation.
Yeah. Well, Ma'am Dommy's kind of, a scary warning sign in New York. Listen, I so appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations. Under siege. Boy, were you guys ever under siege. This is the story of Eric and his family and how they triumphed, and America triumphed, despite all the odds that were stacked against you. Eric, it is good to see you. Thank you, and congratulations.
You're the greatest, Trish.
There's the book right there, Under Siege. Hit #1. You can get it on Amazon today. We thank Eric for his time. Gosh, they went through a lot, did they not, everyone? A lot. I mean, all this stuff. And you heard him mention, like, even the DEI, some people lost their jobs because of DEI, et cetera. It's actually one of the reasons why, well, heck, I kind of lost my job, right? Because I was willing to say things that you weren't supposed to say back in March 2020. It's all right. Believe me, it's very much all right. Way better over here. And I started a company called 76 Research in part because of that. 76 Research, because I'm like, wait a second, why is DEI and ESG creeping into how we invest? I mean, that's ridiculous, right? And we've had tremendous returns. Just a wonderful experience over there. You can get the 76 report for $1 a month. Go to 76research.com. For the first 2 months, it's $1 with my code, DOLLAR, and then it goes to $9.95. You can get some of the portfolios as well if you're interested. Go check it out.